Hi, and welcome to this look at a quite tricky redox titration question. It's also got some transition metals stuff in there as well. So I'll take it nice and slow this time and try to kind of look at every single aspect of the question as it's presented. So the first thing to do with any redox titration question, particularly when it gives you a big long procedure like this, is to try and visualize each step rather than trying to go straight to the end and start calculating. So the first part where it says the student prepares copper methanoate, which is hydrated with XH2O, by reacting a copper compound with aqueous methanoic acid. So it doesn't tell you what copper compound it is. So if you think about what kind of thing you're trying to make a salt, and you're starting with methanoic acid, so the copper compound would have to be a base. So you've either got copper carbonate or perhaps copper oxide. Copper hydroxide might work as well. So any sort of basic copper compound, so metal carbonates, metal oxides, metal hydroxides. So you dissolve your solid in the methanoic acid, and that gives you your solution, obviously, and you allow the excess methanoic acid and the water to evaporate, giving you your new compound, which is your hydrated copper methanoate. So the student dissolves 2.226 grams of this hydrated copper methanoate, makes it up to 250 centimeters cubed in the usual way using a volumetric flask, and then they use a pipette to remove 25 centimeters cubed of that and put it into a conical flask. And then they add excess potassium iodide. So it says the copper 2 plus ions react to form a precipitate of copper iodide and iodine. So the precipitate will sink to the bottom and it'll leave you with brown aqueous iodine solution. So you set that up under a burette and titrate it with sodium thiosulfate. So it's obviously a thiosulfate iodine titration, as you can see from the equation in step 4. It gives you specifics about exactly how much sodium thiosulfate was used and what volume, what concentration it was. So now we're in a position to answer the question because we've thought about what the question is telling us was done. Okay, with this one you've got to work out the oxidation number, or specifically the charge of the ion in the copper compound. So to do that you work backwards from the anion in the question. So in the first one you've got the methanoate ion, which is 1 minus. There's 2 of them, so that must mean it's a 2 plus charge on the copper. So you take 2 electrons from the 4s13d10, part of the electron configuration for the copper atom, which leaves you with 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d9. In the second one, copper 1 means Cu+, so 1 of the 4s2 electrons is removed. So because there was only 1 in the 4s orbital to start with, because of copper's special arrangement, that means it's 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d10. So in step 1, I've put the screenshot of it at the bottom just to remind you which part we're looking at. We need to react a suitable copper compound. So they don't need state symbols, so that's one less thing to have a think about. So I was talking about copper carbonate earlier on in the video, so I'm going to put the copper carbonate example down there. So a simple idea of a carbonate plus an acid makes a salt plus carbon dioxide plus water. Now any any metal hydroxide or metal oxide can also behave as a base. So that's the mark scheme for my answer, but you could also have these two here for copper oxide and for copper hydroxide. So the reaction in step 3 is where the student adds 25 centimeters cubed of this solution to the conical flask, followed by an excess of Ki. The copper 2 plus ions react to form a precipitate of copper 1 iodide and iodine, and it says in this reaction 2 moles of copper 2 plus form 1 mole of I2. So the first thing to do is to put down our full balanced equation, making sure we've got 2 moles of Cu2 plus in the form of 2Cu HCOO2 XH2O. In other words, that's our hydrated copper methanoate over here. So 2 moles of this and 1 mole of this. So to make this work, you have to do a little bit of thinking about how many moles of potassium iodide you might need and how many moles of copper iodide precipitate you might get. Now I've highlighted some of the equation in pink because those are the spectator ions. So I've split anything that's ionic and aqueous into constituent ions. And then the things in pink are cancelled. So that gives us this ionic compound remaining, which is what they're after. So I've ignored the XH2O because this is absorbed into the aqueous solvent. So for this one, you can see the mark scheme at the bottom, and you can also see that all they're looking for really is the fact that the copper iodide is a solid, and they allow multiples as well, so it's worth pointing that out as we go. So in step 4, reminding ourselves what happens there, the student titrates the iodine in the resulting mixture with 0.0420 moles per decimeter cubed of sodium thiosulfate. And you've got the now familiar iodine thiosulfate reaction down here. Now there's no need to remember this for an exam. They'd always provide it for you like they have done here, but we're having to apply it, aren't we? So like I said a bit earlier, it gives you the information you need to work out the moles of Na2S2O3. So that's going to be your starting point. So for this particular part of the question, the solution added is going to be the starch, which reacts with the iodine, and you get a colour change from blue-black to colourless. So they want you to determine the value of X in CuHCOO2.XH2O, and they want your working as well. So if you're doing this through a calculator, remember to write down what you work out as you go. Don't just wait till the very end and stick down the number, because in the mark scheme they'll want to see the working. So I'm going to use the data moles equation moles answer technique here, and we're also going to use the mole ratio of copper 2+ and iodine to help us along. So taking the information for thiosulfate, we know that we've got 0.0420 moles per decimeter cubed. We know that we've got 23.5 centimeters cubed. So we just do N equals C times V to give us 9.87 times 10 to the minus 4. So looking at the equation, we need to work out the mole ratio between thiosulfate and copper. So there's 2 thiosulfates for 1 iodine, and then it says 1 iodine reacts with 2 coppers. So the relationship between these two means that you've got a 1-to-1 mole ratio between thiosulfate and copper 2+. So we can work out the number of moles of copper 2+ in our 25 centimeter cube sample, which was this, and therefore by working backwards through the procedure you can infer from that you've got 10 times as much in 250 centimeters cubed, which is the sample that our solid was dissolved in. So I'm going to clear the slide a bit and start from scratch with the answer. So I'm going to take this information and roll with it into our next part of the calculation. So if we take our formula, that whole thing, we have 9.87 times 10 to the minus 3 moles of that, because as you can see from the formula, for every copper we have 1 whole molecule, don't we? So one copper equals 1 CuHCOO2.XH2O. So it told us earlier in the question the mass of copper methanoate dissolved was 2.226 grams. We can use that and the moles to get the MR. So it's mass divided by moles, which gives us 225.5319149 grams per mole. I've kept the calculator value on purpose here because I don't want to introduce too much error at the start by multi-step calculation. So there's the part of the question where it told us that the student dissolves 2.26 grams of copper methanoate hydrated. So if you look at the MR of CuHCOO2, the anhydrous version, so now I'm just looking at this bit. So I can go to my periodic table and just add everything up there. That takes me to 153.5 grams per mole. The difference between these two gives you the MR of XH2O. So that happens to be 72.0319149. So then what happens is if you actually divide that by 18, which is the MR of water, it gives you almost exactly 4. So X equals 4. Okay, hopefully it's been a useful look at what's actually quite a difficult question. So until next time, thanks for listening and see you soon.